Mercenary. A person who does work only for money, no matter what it is. Our protagonist is also mercenary, thus the name of the manhwa. The scene starts with a girl reminiscing about her big brother who she thought had been dead for 10 years. Just then, a girl comes yelling about this handsome senior she saw in the faculty office. The previous girl wonders if he is her big brother and remembers the time she and her grandfather met him after so long. She and her grandfather never expected him to be alive, but were glad that he was. Her thoughts were interrupted by someone calling her name that was Ijin. It was a blonde girl who was ordering Ijin to give her PE uniform as she hadn't brought her own. Ijin is hesitant about giving her uniform as what will she wear if she were to give it away, but the bully does not care about that and threatens her that if she were to not do as she is told she might have to cry in front of everyone again. Which makes Ijin rethink her choice. Finally, after some time, our protagonist is shown. He introduces himself as Ijin and goes to sit on his assigned seat, but he is interrupted by a delinquent's foot. He was trying to make Ijin trip, but Ijin stopped just before his foot and starts glaring at him. At that moment, he remembers the promise he made with his lieutenant. Do not fight with anyone as you could kill them. Remembering those words, Ijin continues on his way to his seat. Because of his actions, the delinquent thinks of Ijin as a coward. He really needed a reality check, it seems. After seating on his seat, his bench neighbor greets him and introduces himself as Park Young-chan. He tells Ijin to be careful with the guy that tried to stop him, Lee Jae-hyung, and his friend, Ju Hyuk-jin. Ijin gives him a positive answers and starts looking around his surrounding. Compared to the harsh life at the border where every second is a fight for survival, this place was very peaceful. After the school ends, Ijin, looking gloomy, is on her way to home, but she finds that Ijin was waiting for her so that they can go home together. On their way together home, it was very awkward to them as it had been a long time since they had seen each other. While they were awkwardly making a conversation, Ijin gets called by her bully. Ijin asks her if they were her friend, but she denies him. The bully and her friends calls out her again and tries to pick a fight with her. Seeing this, Ijin starts glaring at them, but all he got in return was a scowl from a fat delinquent. He comes closer to Ijin and tries to intimidate him, but it has no work on him. Ijin, not wanting her big brother to get into trouble, apologizes to the delinquent and talks about how Ijin is not quite familiar with the culture in Korea yet, but bullies did not care. Seeing the pitiful hurt of his sister, Ijin covers her face with his coat and tells her to not look. Seeing that Ijin was still not taking him seriously, the delinquent tries to attack him but gets his nose broken instead. Ijin laments that he was not able to keep his promise but does not mind it and is ready to teach some kids a lesson. Just with one punch, the fat guy was knocked out and the other two delinquents were shocked by this development and were scared. Without giving them time to figure things out, Ijin goes after the other guy and punches him in the stomach. He was also knocked out. In the end, only the girl was left. Rather than punching her, Ijin chose to give her a death glare, which was enough to scare her shitless. Ijin looked at what had happened and was surprised that Ijin had done all this so quickly. She gave Ijin his coat back and continued on their way home. On the way home, Ijin asks Ijin about his reasons to do that, to which Ijin answers that it seemed like they were trying to make trouble with her. This made Ijin feel giddy inside, and she was happy all the way home. At home, it was night and Ijin was doing the dishes after having dinner with his grandfather and sister. His grandfather inquires about his day in school. Ijin answers that nothing bad happened and it was good. While sleeping on his bed, Ijin remembers the time he met his grandfather. On that day, he had made a lot of cuisines since he was unsure what Ijin liked. Which, made Ijin very happy. Ijin really felt peaceful here. The next day, Ijin wakes up suddenly due to having a nightmare. It was a dream of 10 years ago where his parents died in a plane crash and he was the only survivor. He goes outside in dining room and finds Ijin had prepared food for him and was going to school early. At school, the bully that Ijin had scared was telling Ijin, her blonde leader, and also the girl that previously bullied Ijin about what happened yesterday. After hearing what happened, the bully felt like Ijin had forgotten her place and chose to teach her a lesson. She brought Ijin to a place where they were alone and slapped her. She told her that because of her, her brother's life is about to become hell. Hearing this, Ijin runs straight to her brother's classroom where she sees that he is surrounded by multiple upper-class students. Ijin sees the condition Ijin was in. A swollen cheek and dirty clothes, and is surprised and also angry. Rewinding to the time Ijin arrived in his classroom, he sees that Park Yenchan was getting bullied by Lee Jaehyung and asks him if he is okay. Park dismisses Ijin's worries and instead proposes to show him around the school. Ijin politely rejects his help as he had to go home with his sister. Park inquires to Ijin about his sister, to which Ijin replies that her name is Ijin. Park Yenchan was surprised by this and starts telling him about Ijin's school life. Ijin was very surprised by hearing that she was bullied daily by a girl named Ijin. Ijin asks him about her reason for bullying Ijin and he tells him that it was all because of jealousy. A guy liked Ijin and proposed to her. But Ijin liked that guy and was jealous of Ijin because of it and started bullying her. Ijin inquires about why no one took an action. Park Yenchan replies that no one did anything about it because Ijin's brother is Kim Kisu, the top dog of the third year, was backing her. Everyone was afraid of him. Suddenly, the door of the classroom slams open and some guys come inside with arrogant gait. A guy that looks like the boss tells Ijin to come before him. Ijin asks if he was Kim Kisu and Kim Kisu takes this as a praise as he was known by someone who just transferred. Just then, Ijin comes running in. Back to present. While standing at the door, she starts crying and apologizing for the trouble she had caused him. Seeing his little sister cry, Ijin comforts her by saying that it was not her fault. It was these bullies that were at fault here. Hearing his arrogant words, one of Kim Kisu's goon tries to attack Ijin, but with speed no one could catch up. Ijin knocks out the guy with just one punch. He gives the second guy a palm thrust between his chest and the last guy a punch in his abdomen. Just in few seconds, Kim Kisu's gang was on the floor crying. Everyone was surprised by this turn of events. Kim Kisu tries not to be afraid and provokes Ijin by calling him a trickster. But Ijin simply ignores him, which makes Kim Kisu angry and he goes for a kick to the head. It was connected with Ijin's head, a clean hit, but that was not true. It was blocked by Ijin's hand at a speed so fast that Kim Kisu could not see. Not letting this stop him, he goes for the other side of Ijin's head, but Ijin blocks that as well and instead grabs Kim Kisu's legs. This made Kim Kisu vulnerable to an attack, which Ijin did by smashing his teeth and nose. Kim Kisu was brought to his knees and blood was dripping from his nose. Before Kim Kisu could do anything, Ijin kicks him in the head, making him unconscious. Now that all the goons were knocked out, Ijin tries to approach Ijin but was stopped by Ijin. She stopped him from doing any more K.O.S. and said that was enough and now she was okay. He did not need to fight anymore. Ijin stops going after Ijin, but not without giving her a death glare as a warning. After all the altercation, Ijin goes to drop Ijin to her class. On the way, Ijin apologizes to Ijin that he had to go through so much trouble because of her. Ijin tells her not to apologize as it was for family. Where he used to live, their people did not care about anything unrelated to them, but it was different when it came to family, and he also wanted to do that. Diane starts getting embarrassed from all this talk and leaves to her classroom. While Ijin was out of the classroom, everyone was talking about what had happened. Some were surprised by the fighting prowess of Ijin, while others are bad-mouthing Kim Ki-soo. In the next moment, Ijin enters the classroom and goes to his seat. Kim Jae-hyung praises Ijin, but he ignores him. While sitting in his seat, Park Young-chan also praises Ijin. He was also blushing. "Bro, why you homo?" Somewhere in the school, Kim Ki-soo was slamming a bench in anger. He had always been the boss of this school, but now there was someone who did not only beat him but also destroyed him and his goons. Ijin gets frustrated seeing all this and tells Kim Ki-soo to stop playing around and do something to get his revenge, as it was just one guy. Kim Ki-soo gets angry hearing all this and lashing out at Ijin to go fight Ijin himself. Then Ijin starts crying and goes outside the room while slamming the door. She did not like how Kim Ki-soo and his goons were so useless that they got beaten up with just one guy. She did not want to let Diane go away with that. Never. She enters her class and goes to Diane's bench to make fun of her, but she just gets ignored. This makes Ijin very angry, and she tries to think of a way to have her revenge. After school ends, on the way home, Diane was reminiscing about what happened today. She remembers all the bullying she had to go through. Maybe now she won't have to do this anymore. As she was very immersed in her mind, she did not even notice Ijin calling out her and was flustered. Before going home, she needed to buy some ingredients for the dinner since Grandpa gets very hungry when he comes back home. While Diane was contemplating what to buy, Ijin was, like always, getting all the nearby girls' attention. Diane finds that no matter what Ijin does, he is really cool and inadvertently asks if he ever had a girlfriend. Ijin says that he did not have a girlfriend ever, which Diane finds odd since Ijin seems like someone who would be very popular. Ijin also asks Diane if she ever dated someone, to which Diane, while being flustered, replies a no. At the dinner table, Ijin was introduced to a latest smartphone which his grandfather had painstakingly bought. Ijin was amazed by the gift. It also already had his grandfather's and Diane's contact. At night, on his bed, smiles at the gift he has been given and sleeps peacefully. In the morning, while Ijin was coming out of the bath, Diane was running to her school as she was already very late. While running, she was checking her phone to see the time just when someone kicked her in the stomach. There were 3 girls with hats on their head and masks covering their faces. Diane recognized one of them. It was Ijin. One of Ijin's friends suggests to go to the karaoke, and they also drags Diane with them. After some time, Ijin and her friends leaves the rented room without one Diane. The guy responsible for cleaning the rooms wonders why there were so many screaming sounds coming from the room. When he opens the door, he finds Diane on the floor bleeding and tries to call 911, but Diane rejects his help and goes straight home. After the school had ended, Ijin was waiting for Diane at the gate, but even after waiting for a long time, she did not arrive. He tries to call her, but she isn't picking it up. He goes home thinking that maybe she already went home, and sure enough, she was home. He knocks at her door asking if she was okay, to which Diane replies in a shaky voice that she was good. Not believing in her, he asks her to open the door, but Diane tells him that she cannot as she is sick and cannot reach the door. Ijin leaves her to rest and goes to buy medicine, and that is when he notices that there is blood on her shoes.